Hello, extra time.
You point to the league not to get a hug because it damages your reputation. It makes people, when they read it, just laugh at you.
But simple look, they're playing in the League One and they're playing in the Europa League and they're credit to the game in this country. Maybe we should get Stephen Kenny then to manage the Irish team.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the ExtraTime.com podcast. Your host Luke Jordan, delighted to say Macdara Ferris and Dave Donnelly alongside me. Lads, how are we?
Very good, Luke.
Good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. I suppose we started a massive pause this week. Irish football's on we're thriving now. We're getting to a World Cup, Macdara.
Well, hopefully, we've got to a World Cup playoff. The first time we've managed that for the women's team. They got to playoff for European Championships before, but yeah, it was a really good occasion in Tala last Thursday when they beat Finland 1-0. I was there. I got a chance to talk to Denise Sullivan afterwards and to Katie McCabe, and then we're recording on Tuesday evening just after the 1-0 win in Slovakia, which means that Ireland bypassed the first round of the UEFA playoffs and goes straight through to the final. But you know, I'm always eager to give an explainer on the playoffs, but do you want to maybe hold me back yet? Do you want to maybe listen to the reaction from Denise and Katie McCabe? Or maybe I should kind of tee it up in that people probably would have seen the photograph at the end of the game with the two Star Ireland players kind of on their knees with a warm embrace, kind of celebrating what's been a long journey for this Ireland team. And both of them mentioned, and Vera Pauw mentioned as well, kind of the legacy of kind of Liberty Hall and the work that some of the players in the current squad and those that played in the team past, just in trying to make sure they got the very best support from the FAI, and how they've built to get themselves in the position now where they're hopefully just one win away from making the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand next year.
Yeah, so first of all, let's have a listen to the voices of Kate McCabe and first Denise Sullivan.
How are we? Thank you.
How are you, Denise?
I'm feeling fantastic.
Great celebrations on the pitch.
I know, I just dropped to my knees, honestly. It was very emotional. I think this team has been through a lot, and I think not getting to the Euros was a big blow for us. It was a nightmare, so to get to a playoff tonight was unbelievable. But as I said, we've a long way to go. Still have a game to play Tuesday, and we'll be looking to get the 3 points there. So definitely enjoyed tonight. Very happy, but we'll be back to work again tomorrow. And
momentum is really important. The potential of those playoffs could be, quite close to one another. So you want to get another good result on Tuesday and maybe match the second half performance maybe that we saw this season.
Exactly, yeah. We need to keep the momentum going, and we know we can improve on a lot of things. So in the next few days we'll work on that and go into Tuesday and hopefully be better at those things and bring our second half performance into Tuesday. It was a lot better. I think we were a lot more composed. We were a lot more organised as a team. So yeah, Tuesday is even more important than tonight in my eyes.
It was a brave goal that Lily scored. She got up with the goalkeeper coming out at her, but a brilliant header.
Absolutely, and apart from the goal, I thought she was fantastic when she came onto the pitch. She really drove the team. I think she broke up the play. She was really composed on the ball, and then that header was unbelievable. So every single player on this team, it just shows how much you're valued, and her coming onto the pitch scoring that goal, I'm very proud of her, and it's a big moment for her.
Denise, she made a difference in the 5 minutes she was on before the break.
Yeah. She did. She was class. As I said, she came on. She was very confident. She done what the team needed her to do, and that was to be a team player. She done exactly that. So, delighted for her. Tonight's a huge night, and hopefully she can bring that into Tuesday as well.
You did to them in the early minutes, the second half, what they had done to you in the early minutes, the first half. What do you put that down to?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was definitely a bit of nerves there in the first half as well. Huge game. They came out and played a diamond in midfield, and I think we kind of just got stuck on what to do. So I think going in to half time, Vera just said, look, settle down, get composed on the ball, and just get our shape again. So I think we done that in the second half, and yeah, I think we were a lot more organised, a lot more compact, and we caught them on the break as well a few times. So most important thing is we got to 3 points and we're in the playoffs, so very happy.
And Denise, that moment of full time, what did that feel like? Do you have much memory of it? Is it just going to come by in a flash? Or?
Yeah, honestly, I was absolutely wrecked, so I just dropped to the floor, and there was definitely a few tears. It was very emotional. Could hear the fans. The stadium was absolutely rocking tonight, and they've been with us every step of the way. My family was there too, so it was absolutely huge. They know what this means to me. So yeah, I was emotional, but we're all very happy. We're delighted to make it pay off.
Yeah, and in terms of where it was at the end of the last campaign, the fact that you're here now, this moment immediately after game, I know you want to go to the playoff and win the playoff and get to the World Cup, but it must be a sweet moment for the squad as well in terms of where you were at now.
Yeah, compared to that moment, I was dropped on the floor crying last time at the end of the Germany game. So to be here now, I think we're after growing a lot as a team. Of course, we didn't play well in the first half, but a few years ago we may have let that slip and we may have lost the game, but that just shows how much we have grown as a team, and to get that goal and then stay compact, go to the corners, keep the ball there, I think it's huge, and I'm really proud of the team.
Denise, just on the Germany game you mentioned there, I remember you being out on the pitch for ages on your own afterwards. Like, just how contrasting was that to now?
Yeah, it's mad looking at it. Obviously that was a huge blow. That was probably the most heartbreaking time in my career for sure, and not making that Euros, and just myself and Katie tonight just sitting there so happy. The team has come a long way back from 2017 in Liberty Hall. All those girls, Emma Byrne, Yvonne Tracy's, Anya Gorman's, they all came before us. They worked really hard, and this is the moment we've done that for them tonight, so it's absolutely huge, and we're delighted.
I was just going to say, this is for everyone. Like, this is a monumental result. Obviously the job's not done just yet, but just how special is this piece of history for everyone, like you say, those girls that have gone before too.
Exactly, yeah, it's a historical moment for all those girls, and there's also girls that have been in the squad years, the Savannah McCarthy's, who have injured. I'm sure they were quite emotional watching the game and wishing they were a part of the team tonight, but they are a part of the team. They've been part of the journey, so that was for them, and all those young girls who were at the stadium tonight who look up to us. It was just fantastic to do it, and Ireland showed up for us tonight for sure. They were amazing.
Sorry, Katie, how does it feel? You've got a playoff place guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm in disbelief, to be honest. I can't believe we've done it. I knew tonight was our night. Having such a good squad back in, having some key players back in. Obviously, it was unfortunate to have to miss Niamh Fahey tonight as well, but. We've done it for her, and we've got our names in the hat for a few weeks' time for the playoff.
Sure, and it was kind of a nervy start, I think it's pretty fair to say, but at the start of the second half, you really upped the game. So what changed in that period? What change was said at half time?
Yeah, look, I probably looked nervy, but we were pretty calm. It was just about kind of figuring out their setup. Obviously they have a new coach, and they look to kind of have their full back inverted, which kind of overloaded our midfield a little bit. But yeah, it kind of frustrated us at times because we didn't quite know how to figure it out, but I think we dealt with it well in the first half, nullified as much chances as we could, kept obviously making them go long, and we would obviously defend that, but at second half we had a look at it on the clips and pushed Denise on to their six to kind of get that extra bit of pressure and relieve the midfield, and I think we had a much better second half, which obviously we kind of grew in confidence in the game then, and got some set pieces, and obviously got the goal in the end. And
you've often spoken about it being your ultimate dream to go to a major finals with Ireland. You're now potentially 2 games away. Like, that must be, I know you have games to come and there's all the rest of it, but in this moment it must be a fairly magical moment for you.
Do you know what, we've given ourselves a chance to get there. Obviously, as I said, we're in the playoff now. I don't know who will draw, but we've given ourselves the best chance possible, and for me, obviously, yes, playoff, but for me, I'm thinking Slovakia now on Tuesday night. We'll recover tonight and tomorrow, dissect the game and look and see where we can improve and look to finish this campaign on a high.
Katie, a lot of calls before this game for it to be moved out of Tallaght Stadium. You were one who was vocal and said no. The crowd tonight, they were really, really special and important.
Yeah, look, that's what I want. Before we go talking about Avivas and everything else, I want to pack out Tallaght Stadium. Game after game, you can see the atmosphere it creates. Like, it's unbelievable. You've got the fans on top of the players and really cheering us on, and you can see it the last 5 minutes, or it was the last 4 minutes, the board goes up and they just erupt, and they give you that extra bit of strength and energy to kind of keep going. You forget about your cramp, whatever, you just keep running for them, and that's what I love about Tallaght Stadium, and that's why it's at home.
So you want to hear the skipper there, Kate McCabe and Denise O'Sullivan. Dave, I'll come to you first before we go to the playoff explainer. What you've made the last week of Irish football in terms of women's game?
Yeah, it's massive. I think probably over the 2 games they probably didn't perform to their capabilities, but I'd say that's probably more to do with the I suppose the pressure and the the importance of the occasions. It was difficult for them. I don't think they performed to the capabilities that they did in, say, away to Finland or away to Sweden. But it's just it. They're playing at a level that they've never really reached before, apart from the exception of Kate McCabe, who's played in Champions League and competed for titles in England, and Denise Sullivan has obviously won titles in the US. This is a new level for a lot of these players, and the fact that they were able to come through these two games, get the two results they needed to set themselves up really well for a playoff, it's immense. And I think probably we alluded to it there, but I think Denise and Katie both sort of they spoke. Their first kind of thought was to speak about all the players that have come before, the likes of Emma Byrne, who's never 125 or whatever caps, never qualified for anything. Ciara Grant, the first Ciara Grant the one, rather than the current Ciara Grant. Olivia O'Toole. There's so many players who have come before and laid the groundwork for this, and it's amazing to see that they're finally really seeing the fruition of all the work that's been done over 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, and I think Macdara was nice even. I know that was the euphoria of the Finland game, but it was nice even to finish with a win this evening, beating Slovakia 1-0 away. Another good result.
Yeah, it was. And Vera Pauw was talking to RT afterwards, and she said it was an ugly win. And she wasn't very happy with the tactics of Slovakia. And neither was Katie McCabe, who kind of got kicked around the place. Pauw called it a bit nasty, but moved on quite quickly because the big thing was that they needed to get the 3 points. Having already secured the playoff last week with the win over Finland, what it meant was that the win tonight meant they're the best. They're one of the best 3 of the 9 runners up across the UEFA groups, and what that means is they go directly through to the playoff finals. So they'll the other 6 runners up who weren't quite as good as Ireland, they're paired off against one another. They'll play on October 6th to create 3 winners. And those 3 winners will go into the hat with the 3 best runners up, of which Ireland has one, to be paired off. So Ireland will have one game to win that playoff final, and then there's 3 winners will come through. The best 2 winners, based on the group games and also the playoff final, will automatically go to the World Cup. So Ireland have the potential of winning, playing one game, winning it, and going to the World Cup. The one team that goes through that doesn't have enough is ranked 3rd. They end up going down to New Zealand in February. But I was having a look. I was trying to work it out, but I'm just going to what Ireland need to do. But I saw Owen Cowser tweeted out, and he's always really good for this. Your colleague, actually, Dave, and he was saying, so if Ireland win the playoff, they'll qualify automatically unless Switzerland and or the Netherlands also win. So Netherlands play Iceland. So if Netherlands, Iceland go through, or Switzerland go through, then we might have to go down to New Zealand in February, where it's a 10-team tournament. Bear with me now. I've one final bit to say in this. So it's a 10-team tournament, but we'll most likely be seeded in that because all the teams that are in that are ranked lower than us. So we're ranked 26 in the world, and the other teams are Thailand 41, Chinese Taipei 38, Cameroon 59, Senegal 84, Haiti 56, Paraguay 51, Panama 57, Chile 39, and Papua New Guinea 49. So we'll be, if Ireland get through to that, we'll be seeded, and we'd end up playing one team and win that match. We go to the World Cup. If you're unseeded, potentially you need to pay two of the teams. And if you're worried about the carbon footprint of flying all the way to New Zealand just to play one game, they're actually using this as a test event for the World Cup. So New Zealand will supply friendly material. So we would have a minimum of 2 games. If we get there, one of them would be a friendly game. But hopefully we don't need to do that. So our playoff final will be on October 11th, and it's an open draw. So the draw's on Friday. So we'll know on Friday whether we're going to be home or away for that one-legged game. Level after 90 minutes goes to extra time and penalties if required. And we'll know on Friday who our potential opposition will be. So it'll be one of 2 teams who will play on October 6th, and the winner of that will play us on the 11th. So we'll have an idea. I think the draw's on at 12:30 on Friday. So we'll have an idea of who we're playing at that time. But it's just brilliant to get to the playoff. Like that makes a successful campaign. We finished runners up in a group behind Sweden, and the only points they dropped were the ones we won, and we took off them in Gothenburg. You know, they were the silver medalists in the Olympics. I think it was semi-finalists in the European Championships as well. So very, very good side. So the expectations, we were ranked 3, not 2. So we've outdone ourselves. Haven't played particularly well in the last couple of games. But we've got the results, and that really is all that matters. And the win tonight, hopefully they'll carry that momentum into the playoff game when it comes around, because whoever potentially who we face, sorry, I made a mistake there. It's an open draw. Potentially we could get a team that didn't play in the semi-final, and we could get a team that's automatically gone through as well. So we could be playing against a team that won't have had a game 3 days before, for 4 or 5 days before. But today's win was really important to try and carry that momentum into the playoff, and it would just be brilliant if we could get a result, particularly one result, so it would qualify us automatically for the tournament that's going to be in Australia and New Zealand next year.
Yeah, and Dave, it's great to obviously get to the playoff, as Macdara alluded to, but there's no point just getting there now. You want to go the whole way, and I think that's going to be the ambition of the whole squad. Is now we've got this far, let's go the full way to Australia and New Zealand next year.
Yeah, I think that's it. And just to confirm what Macdara was saying, we needed Iceland to beat the Netherlands 6-0, which was never going to happen and hasn't happened. So that's the reason that we're third. So yeah, we have to hope that one of the two teams above us doesn't qualify, whether that's by playing us or by losing to somebody else. So I think probably the most likely thing to happen is that if we do win our playoff game, we will be going to that further playoff. But as Macdara said, like, all the teams are ranked up below us, and I think we'll even be higher than 26th by the time the new rankings come out. So yeah, but no, I just think it's an amazing opportunity for the players. It's it's what you want to do, and as I alluded to earlier, like, it's a level that they haven't played at, and they've taken every challenge so far, and they've completely met them, and they've stepped up, and they've dug in like they did against Slovakia and against Finland. They've played some brilliant football like they did away to Finland, and in the 2 games against Sweden. So like, there's so many positives taking this whole campaign, and like you said, I just hope that they can finish the job and have a life-changing tournament down in Australia and New Zealand, or Aratoya. I'm not going to even try to pronounce it, the Maori pronunciation of New Zealand, but they're looking to change it now, so that'll be interesting.
So who's the team to avoid then the open draw, Dave?
The big ones. So I'm just going to give you, I think, the cut here, because we don't know whether it's going to be Netherlands or Iceland. So I'll just say both of them. So we want to avoid either Switzerland or Netherlands. We want to avoid either Switzerland or Iceland. They're the 2 top-ranked teams. But there's an awful lot of big teams. We played Belgium last year away. It was a 1-0 defeat, but it was very much a game that Belgium dominated. Norway are in there too. The teams we're kind of looking at are the likes of Bosnia, Slovakia maybe. Scotland might not be the worst in the world, and Wales, who we've beaten recently. So you're looking at teams who are ranked around or below you, because obviously they're teams that we should be beaten. But I do think we can have a decent go at any team really, and that's even what Denise Sullivan was saying yesterday. It was just, we don't care who we get, we can take on anyone, and that's really the attitude that the team have at the moment.
So who's our Estonia?
Probably Bosnia, which is interesting because my brother's fiance is from Bosnia, and we've been in this situation before, playing Bosnia in a playoff, and we beat them. So I kind of like the sound of that.
Okay, so we're going to beat Bosnia and get to the World Cup. I like the sound of that too. No, it's great. I think we all agree. I think it's great for Irish football. I mean, we got playoff now, the women's team. We're going to chat in a few weeks' time. The playoff coming up to 21's game. So, like there it is. I know we're quick to bash Irish football, but I think sometimes we need to bask in some glory too, saying there is some green shoots coming through too.
Oh yeah, like for many years, our under 21 team just went from defeat to defeat to defeat, but now they're under Stephen Kenny originally, and now that they're true to this playoff and playing some really really good football. Similarly, the game
under the new Bows manager Jim Crawford.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he'll be very much focused on this playoff coming up, and then and with the women's team, there was just close on 7,000 at the game. Bit of debate about kind of not everyone taking up their tickets. But for the game in Tala, and that'll be really important. If we can get that home draw, would make things a lot easier getting to the World Cup for the women's team. But away from home, as Dave said, we've had some really good results. That win in Finland, like the draw in Gothenburg against Sweden, was another great result away from home. So, and then the UEFA Nations League then kicks off as well, with Ireland, Scotland, and Ireland, Armenia coming up as well, and maybe another chance to have a talk through a complicated qualification route as well through the Nations League. I must start investigating that one, so I have that prepared for a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I still don't get the Nations League. It's the third installment of it now coming up. I'm still confused by it. But anyway, we'll quickly move on. Just a quick run through the results from last weekend in the SSC Electricity League. Bows 1, Rovers 0. Probably a bit of a surprise that game. Derry City 3, UCD 0. Pats 2, Finn Harps 1. Dundalk 0, Shells 0, and Sligo 2, Drogheda 0. I was obviously myself at the Pats Harps game. Good win for ourselves, but second half was probably some of the worst football I've seen in a long time. A very poor game, but nonetheless, still, like, you look at the gap there between fourth now and third, it's 7 points to Pats, 4 wins in the bounce. I think barring a complete collapse, lads, I'd say Pats are fairly comfortable now coming fourth, and if even now, I'd be looking at maybe third or second at this stage. Like, they've had a really good run now, 4 wins in the bounce, 5 unbeaten. Yeah,
the only thing is Dundalk look like they might get the benefit of a 3-0 walkover over Sligo Rovers, who played potentially a suspended player, Adam McDonald, the other week. So that would turn into a win for Dundalk, which would push them obviously close to Shamrock Rovers and a bit further away from Pats. But now Pats seem to be pulling some good results together over the last few weeks.
Yeah, but we'll keep an eye on that one. The results then, obviously, in the First Division: Bray 2, Athlone 0, Treaty United 1, Cove Ramblers 0, Wexford 2, Waterford 2, and Cork City 2, Longford 2. I think it's, looking at the table there, it looks like it's a foregone conclusion now with Cork City getting to the summit and return to the parent division, but I suppose I wouldn't rule out Galway United just yet.
Cork are playing Waterford at the weekend, so that might be throw a bit of chaos into it. Because Waterford seem to be much improved since the break. They brought an awful lot of new players in.
And also the quarter final coming up in the FAI Cup, I'm going to say.
Yeah, quarter final.
Yep, so they're still fighting off fronts. Coming up next time, we're delighted to have Daniel Lambert on the podcast, so stay tuned.
Get in touch. You can email us at extratimelive@gmail.com or tag us on Instagram using the hashtag League of Ireland, or tweet us at Extra Time News.
Let's do it. Delighted to say it's Dan Lambert, COO of Bohemians with us today. Dan, how are you?
Yep, good. Luke, good.
I saw the start with a nice question for you. Go in Friday night after a tough week, I imagine.
Yeah, it was great. Look, I suppose the derby games are always a big occasion, and we were going into obviously as underdogs the way the season's gone, and I think I'm not a betting person, but I think we were 3-1 or so. So it was great to get the victory. I think it was a really good game, especially in the second half, and we were just really solid in defence and worked really hard, and I think we were deserving winners. It was a close game, they always are, but I think we were deserving of the victory, and it was good, and they're the games that fans want to win, and often they don't change their season as such, but it was important to get the win there, and it was a good response to a difficult time.
Yeah, and before we touch on the major news, like of the key along with the part. And how difficult has this season been from a board point of view and even a fan point of view?
Yeah, I think obviously I'm not on the board as COO as important. So to say, the reason that I'm not CEO is that the club members elect the board, and the board make executive decisions at the club. So my role as COO is to implement their strategic decisions and to talk to them about them, and maybe sometimes give advice on them. But ultimately, the decisions at the club, as they should be, are the people who are elected by the members. It was really, really, really difficult. Like you've probably seen with the statement that came out. Like 8 years is a long time in football. Keith's a brilliant person. Somebody that over that amount of time, and the progression of the club off and on the pitch was a journey that a lot of people had gone on together. And you get to know somebody really well, and you get to know their family, and and it's difficult. It was a very hard week, and I think with what Keith has come out with, and vice versa, the club statement, I think it shows the respect that each party had for each other, and it was one of those things unusual. There was nobody celebrating, I don't think, or jumping around. It was difficult, and Keith had done a tremendous job, and through a period of a lot of change, from the club, from loads of different perspectives in terms of the fan base, the budgets available, the club's growth in terms of getting the cup final, best European run, and things like that. So it was hard, and I think Keith will always have a brilliant legacy at the club. I think that's really clear, and that's a really nice thing to have.
How tough was the decision, you think?
Yeah, I think it was probably really hard for the board to make. I think if you look overall, we've progressed year on year. It's probably like a lot of the expectation maybe that was built. Keith had built himself through his achievements. In particular Europe last year, I suppose it was difficult that we didn't achieve Europe for this year. To play 3 games in the Aviva, score 8 goals, concede 1, to have all these trips. The downside of the fans couldn't go with COVID, and to finish second the year before, built expectation, and to get to a cup final, I think, and lose on penalties, it's such a big what if, isn't it? You win on penalties there. You're in Europe this year. Maybe things are very different. So yeah, it's really fine margins.
Daniel, you mentioned the European run. How important was that financially? Like, those were really successful, getting through 3 rounds. You got big crowds because the games were in the Aviva, and you won all 3 home games. But how important was that kind of from a financial stability point of view? Obviously, Bohemians have got quite a good bit of money from the Matt Doherty transfer as well in the recent past as well. So how important have they been to the club to project going forward what you guys want to do?
So it wouldn't change anything. Look, in terms of the club, like we have multi-year budget, and so it wasn't a case that if we didn't or did get Europe, that it was going to in any way impact upon. We've moved past the idea that we need to achieve X for Y to happen the following year. Having said that, obviously, look, it's a big cash injection, and it's really welcome at any club. I suppose it was great to be able to use the Aviva. Having said that, the Aviva is not a cheap place to operate, so there wasn't huge profits or anything. But the alternative was to play in Dalymount in front of 200 people. So we made the decision, obviously, that either way, it wasn't going to be a huge earner in terms of crowds. Most of the earnings came obviously from the prize money, almost all of it. And it was tricky, and clubs have faced it again this year in terms of the cost of travel. You have to charter, on a trip, say, to somewhere like Greece, where you're staying over 3 nights, you have a plane on the ground for 2 days. These aren't cheap operations. Obviously, then players do get their bonuses and things. So I think the headline figures that are reported a lot in terms of a club makes 750 grand or 250 grand. They don't in reality. They might net a third of that. But it is really important. And it does drive other things like merchandise sales and, commercial partners that are really happy. So it was important. And I do look at, I suppose, what Shamrock Rovers have achieved, and huge credit to them. There's kind of just 2 ways now. The Conference League has changed things, I think, in that Irish clubs now it's far more likely that they'll progress through a couple of rounds. So the teams in second, third, and the cup winner or fourth, they should really be progressing through, I think, at least a round, hopefully 2. And I think 3 then becomes very difficult to get past it. We've seen it with Udinese, with PAOK, we've seen it again this year. So I think you're in a position where you can probably get 6 games. But realistically, the only route to group stage football is the Champions route. It's not really possible. I think there was 42 teams this year that could have, and nobody did. So it will really be an exceptional achievement with an awful lot of luck for a second, third, or fourth place or cup winner to get to the group stage. And
talking of stadium, can you maybe give us an update on Dalymount? And people may have seen there's deconstruction at the minute, the demolition going on the Connacht Street side. So the camera gantry that's been there for many years is gone. So there's kind of a lower, it's a temporary thing, obviously, while the site is a construction site. But just in terms of the plan for the rest of the season and then kind of going forward, I know it's only the first phase, which is very much a demolition phase at the minute.
Yeah, the immediate thing that people will see is, as you said, is the Connacht Street's coming down. It's coming down quite fast. Next year we're going to be putting in where the Connacht Street car park is. People know that the side of the ground opposite the Jody on the left hand side as you look out. We've got a temporary, it's semi-permanent. It's a good structure. There's a piece going in there next year, a covered away terrace that'll hold 450 people, and that's going to be in place for the 2023 season. What that allows us to do is, although the capacity only grows by 450, we can add about 1,400 seats in the Des Kelly. So our home capacity will go from 2,600 to 4,000. We have a waiting list of members, waiting list of season tickets. So that'll make a big difference for us. But in terms of the bigger picture, look, there's two changes really since January. The first major change everyone will know about was Shelbourne, after several years of working with us on the ground, decided that it wasn't an option for them and they wanted to remain in Talca Park. And the other thing that I suppose that happened is this huge cost inflation in terms of construction and everything else. So those two things, either way, it necessitated a redesign, because we'd worked on a design of a stadium that was to accommodate two clubs, which is tricky for lots of reasons. Complex reasons like dressing rooms, and then, things that are relatively trivial for a designer, but really important for fans, like colour of seats and what goes in the walls. So bringing the two together, I suppose you'd have seen DCC have decided that they will now look at two options, with one to be approved this month. And they are, again, another examination of the total demolishment and refurbishment, which was coming in now at a rate of over 50 million. Or then a second option, which I think the club members from the AGM vastly prefer, which is to renovate the Jody. And by renovate, we mean kind of, refurbish the interior elements of the Jody stand. The stand itself as well, within its lifespan, I think it's a good stand. To build another stand at the Connacht Street side, a main stand of 4,000 to 5,000, and then to put a 2,000 capacity terrace on the Des Kelly end. So you're getting to a ground then that's kind of coming up to 8,000-9,000, should come in a huge amount cheaper without turning the pitch and keeping the Jody. And I think it'll keep a sense of Dalymount. It won't be the, four-side wraparounds that some of the images had, but I think it'll deliver a higher capacity and maybe a better football ground. So there'll be a lot more on that in the next 4 or 5 weeks. And look, even the Connacht Street being demolished, things are moving along now. If it was a case that second option gets approved, then the actual build is a lot less complex than it was, because the pitch stays in its current position. You rebuild the stand and you put in a terrace.
Just on, you mentioned 450 away fans. I suppose I have to ask, as a Shamrock Rovers fan, there was limited, Bohemians decided to limit the number of away tickets because of, objects thrown onto the pitch. There was damage done from the last home game. And it was a decision that I think the members made, and it was a decision which cost Bohemians money. They turned down ticket money because they wanted to, I suppose, make a stand on this. Is that going to be reviewed, and would there be the aim that Shamrock Rovers would get the same number of away tickets next season?
Yeah, I think that that decision was made by the board, actually, and I think it was made for the reasons that you've said there. There was a lot of costs that were incurred after that game, unfortunately. And look, all clubs have fans that act outside of the way we wish them to act, and it's not, no club I think is any better or any worse in that respect. We all try and operate in a way where we can keep people away that cause issues in terms of their behaviour, and everyone works hard for that. And at times then you get groups of people who move outside of that, and they cause trouble for all of us. But no, I think from next year on, it'll be the same allocation for everybody, the 450, and like the stand that's going in is a better stand. It's brand new, it's covered, and it'll be a better viewing location, I think so. And look, that's obviously temporary too. The aim here is to get to a Tallaght-sized stadium that will give a good allocation of I know that when we go to Tallaght, it's around about 1,000. That'll be the aim with the new Dalymount. It's an imperfect solution at the moment. The ground has its own issues. It really is past its lifespan. So we're always kind of papering over cracks.
Dan, in terms of the stadium, I suppose two things. A, how big, it's probably an obvious question, but I'll ask anyway. How big of a hindrance has the stadium been the past, say, 4 seasons in terms of the way the crowds in particular and the waiting list you have in terms of growth the club's had since you've come in? And B, are the club much happier now with the current proposal that the Dublin City Council have put together for the new Dalymount Park considered maybe the one that was approved, you'll say, during the Delaney era? Is there a much better acceptance of the new policy maybe in terms of not changing the Jody around and that kind of thing?
Yeah, like I think the first question, like how big it's been a huge problem. Like we'd anticipate that we'd probably get another 2,000 to 3,000 in. You break that out over a season of 2022 games, you're looking at about €1 million. And that €1 million is nearly all profit because your security costs wouldn't increase to a huge extent, your operating costs wouldn't increase, and then you've got the ancillary stuff like programs and merchandise and commercial income and stuff. So when you take that number, then like that money will be spent on football. So you have a bigger budget for your men's team, bigger budget for your women's team, bigger amount of money going into the academy. And yeah, it's been a huge hindrance. What it has forced us to do, I suppose, is to look at income streams that aren't capped. So membership and season tickets, we've hit ceiling. I think the commercial income has hit a ceiling. We've brilliant commercial partners, and a lot of it down to the work we do off the pitch. So the likes of, say, Dublin Bus, Dublin Bus are with us for the work that we do in the community and some of the sustainability work, and DHL and MG and really, really good companies, and obviously Des Kelly. But it's just such a hindrance. But in terms of how we looked outside of that, then obviously look, the football market's huge. So I've been particularly looking at how we can drive income from people who maybe can't come to Dalymount. And we do, I think we've said it before, we sell more football shirts outside of Ireland than in it. So they're not going to, in the past, clubs selling a shirt in Germany or France was to, a fella who used to go to Dalymount who now moved job or something. These are the people who never come to Dalymount ever. And they see a shared values proposition with Bose. And that's been a good learning experience, to be honest, because we now have really, really good, like 7-figure merchandise sales, which is enormous to be honest, for a League of Ireland club. And if we can sustain those now, it's a learning that we've had and a new income stream, and then bring on new attendance figures. And it's put us in a place that we wouldn't have been. So managed to find some, I suppose, solutions from a difficult situation. And in terms of B, like, do we think the second option is better? I personally do. The feeling from the AGM, I think, was the vast majority of those members think it's a better solution. And I think we have to be aware, I suppose, that of the projects in the large-scale sports infrastructure, you have the RDS, there was a Connacht Rugby, there was Glanmire, there was Finn Harps. All of them have to find a cost reduction to go through. So the fact that cost reduction has to be found, and keeping the sense of Dalymount, I think it was probably important that the sense of Dalymount wasn't too strong when it was a shared stadium, because Shelbourne were going to be an equal partner in that. But the fact it's just us, I think people will still want to walk down the same laneway and have a sense of this place that they've always gone to. That's vastly improved, but doesn't feel like, the Aviva to Lansdowne, which there's nothing to take away from it anymore. It's just a new place.
And Dan, there's been discussions, you'd put out on Twitter about the kind of the release clauses and the low release clauses. We've seen a few players from Bohemians and Danny Mondreo from Rovers go to the UK for quite a low figure. And I think I heard you on Second Captains talk about maybe it was a figure of 14 players you have on contract for next season without, and none of them have a release clause. Can you maybe talk us through, what can be done? Are the clubs as a league maybe coming together collectively and not trying to lowball each other or undercut each other? How do you think that might proceed in the future?
It can only proceed with trust, so it doesn't involve the FAI, to be honest. And it's sort of so there was people who said, "Oh, is that price fixing?" It's actually the absence of that. So what it's saying is ultimately that there wouldn't be an agreement, just that clubs would not concede to a release clause. And the reason I say it is, like, the times that these are put in or sought to be put in by agents are when you have a promising young player that may or may not, achieve interest from the UK. So it's normally a young player, maybe 17, 18, maybe 19, getting some first team minutes. The club's invested in them. They've come through the academy system, and there's an awareness by an agent that this player might make a move, and they seek to put these in then. Like, ultimately, League of Ireland clubs don't block players going to the UK. And if there was a club out there who did block it, young players wouldn't go to that club. So that secures the players' interests really as a whole. Because if Club A decided that no players moving unless we get X, and players didn't move, instantly agents would not send players there. So if there's no release clause in, then what it allows the club to do is, having invested in the player, and this is often overlooked, like there's lots of elements to a player moving to the UK. Obviously, first and foremost, it's their own commitment, ability, sacrifices that they've made. But also increasingly, the League of Ireland clubs have a really good systems in place in terms of facilities, support staff, S&C, a whole load of background things going on, that also support the player to reach their potential. And I just think when they move, given the fact that no club blocks them, we have to be able to negotiate fair fees. And if you take our own example of Bohemians, where there isn't a private owner, if we achieve a fee of €1 million for a player, that gets reinvested into our club, which in turn creates a better environment for more players to come through. It's not being extracted from the game. So I just think that overall, if clubs were to, at that point, the only risk factor. So if you're a club and you have a 17-year-old who's looking pretty good and he's entered the first team, and an agent is putting in a red line on a release clause, the only card the agent has at that time is to say that another League of Ireland club will accept it. That's the only point that they have to play. So I just think that by clubs maybe not agreeing to them at all, it removes that. And we should all celebrate good transfer fees. Like if it's Pats today or Rovers tomorrow or Derry, we shouldn't look at it with envy or with jealousy. We need to improve the amount of finance going into the league as a whole. Good transfer fees benefit all clubs. It increases the profile of the league, and ultimately the league becomes more respected. So, better fees for one club are actually better fees for all of us, I think.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of that is obviously longer term contracts, and I suppose it's probably very difficult in terms of organise a longer term contract. You can speak about that, I suppose. Like you look around the league, most contracts about 38 weeks. So is that something we have to strive to achieve, to get players maybe 2 or 3 year deals to try and get the better fees in the future?
Yeah, I think, I can only speak for Bohs in this one. We don't have, we've loads of players in 3 and 4 year deals. So we don't offer anybody a 38-week contract, and we haven't in quite some time. So I'm not sure. I've seen that online as well in this narrative but I know for sure that 7 or 8 of the Premier League clubs are offering multi-year deals. We certainly are. Look, a lot of the time you have a young player who doesn't want to sign a multi-year deal, so want to keep their options open. But certainly, at Bohemians, we offer them all the time. I think we are moving the 52-week contracts as a whole in the league. I think that's probably going to be somewhere that we're going to get to in the next couple of years, maybe even next year, or at least to get to a 48 where you have a very short off season. But no, that's not something that at Bohs, thankfully we're able to multi-year budget, and we do offer longer term contracts, and it is really important. Obviously, look, you don't want to have a situation where you have a huge turnover of players. You don't want to have a situation where you've guys who are going through several months of the year where they don't have employment. That's the clubs do have a responsibility to have a good work environment for employees, players, coaches, and players being obviously critical to that. So I think there is a narrative that a lot of players are only offered 1 year contracts, but it's not what I've seen.
And is the terms then, obviously you're saying players being offered deals, is it agents that are kind of advising maybe younger players to maybe not take a longer deal, that maybe take a 1 or 2 year deal so that you can go for, to use the term, buttons to the UK, maybe for a paltry fee of 30 grand?
Totally, yeah. Like the 30 grand will only happen. So what's important to understand is if you have a player who's under 23, there's a thing called the Regulation and Status of Transfer Players. It's a FIFA document. It's fairly boring. But if you look it up, what it means is that if a young player is moving under 23, the clubs are entitled to quite a lot of money, actually. And it depends on the category of the club that's bringing them over. So Premier League clubs are generally, they're all Category 1 academies. I think it's 90,000 a year. So if you take a player, Bohemians player aged 20, who was with us since he's, say, 16, we'll be entitled to 4 years at the 90 grand. So technically, you're entitled to 360,000. You never achieve that. That's used as a negotiation point. And Sean O'Connell, if people know Sean, he's a lecturer in Cork. He's really good on this stuff. He's on Twitter, and he's a legal professor down there. So you normally negotiate from that point. So a funny thing is that, sometimes the shorter contract for a young player, you can still achieve quite a good fee based on that. But yeah, will be agents generally who were trying to get a shorter contract to keep options open. But clubs are still in a decent position without release clauses for younger players because of the RSTP rule.
And can I just ask a quick one? That's even when they're out of contract. If they move, if they're finished their contract with Bohemians, and team in England gives them a new contract, that compensation still needs to be paid to those.
As long as they've been retained under the retention rules. So the retention rules that the FAI have are mirrored with the retention rules for FIFA. So basically, you'll have had to have offered them a contract 60 days before the end of the season, on the same, no less than the same terms they were on previously, which they have a right to accept. So you're basically demonstrating that you do want to retain the player. And if they refuse the contract, well, then you have the right to RSTP. If you haven't offered them the contract and you let them go, and 3 months later they sign for West Brom or something, you're not entitled to anything.
With regards to yourself, Dan, how long now are you in the role of COO? Is it 2 years now, just touching that?
Yeah, exactly 2 years. Yes, September 2020.
Yeah. How have you found, obviously now yourself working? I imagine you're a ball supporter. I'm gonna hazard a guess.
Yeah. No, yeah.
How have you found the transition from the volunteering the club to becoming like one of the, let's say, one of the main spokesperson, one of the main people in the club?
It's difficult. Like I was kind of like, I joined the board, went to Bowes with my dad since I'm a kid, and I joined the board very young when I was, I think, 2010, 11. Pat was still in place. So at the time when I joined the board, I would have been the youngest on the board by maybe 20 years. And no, it wasn't like it was an achievement. Nobody else thought the club was bankrupt. Most people were trying to get off it because they had houses and things that might have been in jeopardy. So it was no achievement to get on there. But I was studying marketing, and I was interested in maybe things the club could do. And I ended up, and like other people on the board do now, you end up kind of planning to spend 5 or 10 hours a week on it. And I was spending as much time on it as my own job for a long time. And then I was obviously really excited and honoured. And there's not many jobs in football in Ireland, and to work for the club that you support. And it's really important to me that the club's a members' own club, and it's essentially a cooperative. It's been, you learn loads, but probably work too much. I think anyone that ends up doing working in something that they have a passion for, I've never worked as much in my life, to be honest. And it's hard to separate it because it is a 24/7 thing. There's always something going wrong at a football club, to be honest. But no, it's been great. It's been a steep learning curve, and I do think that, having learned a lot now, I realise with Bowes that maybe at clubs it is important to have full-time staff. It's really important to have continuity in people. Like, we would have had an ever-changing board, and still do. And you get people who are hugely qualified, hugely dedicated, great commitment, but really to build relationships and to learn, the industry, I suppose, that takes time. And if you have a club, which we were, where it's constantly changing, I do think that's a real weakness. So, and we've seen it at other clubs. You've seen, Dennis at Shamrock Rovers, and Anthony at St. Pat's, and Dave O'Connor at Shelbourne, and Martin at the Dock, and others. It's nearly standard now that you have a COO, a CEO, a general manager, and really important. And we all, meet each other and chat to each other regularly and share information. And again, off the pitch, knowledge, it's really important to have good knowledge of the game. So, it's been really enjoyable for the most part. I suppose probably I hadn't realised how much time it would take up, but I'm delighted with it.
Is the communication good between the clubs in the league? Would you say it's at a good standard?
Yeah, I think it is. There's obviously a couple of different forums. So there's the PCA, which has in existence a long time, but the PCA was established really to try and get some power from the FAI. There was a rule, as far as I know, like PCA has got about 7 or 8 years, and I think it was against the rules for the clubs to meet without the FAI. And for the first couple of meetings, we were kind of meeting in secret, which is crazy, obviously. And the clubs really had no say in terms of the run of the league. And we'd never gotten accounts for the league. And, so the PCA was really set up to look for transparency, to find out about our league. The league doesn't exist without the clubs. Clubs pay all the bills. So when we did, like now we've access to that. There's a forum called the NLC, which replaced the NLEC. I'm lucky enough to be a member of that. I was elected along with Pats and Sligo and Derry, were the 4 Premier clubs on it. And then the PCA meets usually every 2 weeks. We might have a meeting later this week, and clubs discuss different issues. This obviously, look, some clubs get on with each other better than others, but for the most part, you can contact, like I'd have calls regularly with other clubs who might ring and ask. So the call yesterday from a first division club who just wanted some information about retention and things like that. And I think, everyone's trying to improve the league as a whole. So communications is better than it's ever been, as far as I can see.
Speaking about full-time setup, obviously, it's obviously spoke about Bowes next season, come maybe in inverted commas, more full-time setup. If you want to speak more about that, I know you were saying even off air, that in essence, Bowes are already, because they train every day, but can you speak about that in terms of what's happening next season with the club?
Yeah. We've transitioned very fast in terms of, when you look back and so keep coming in 2014, or you look at even Aaron Callahan before that, we had a really, really small budget, and we were operating in a very much part-time environment with players who had jobs or who were studying and who played football. In the last couple of years, it's the vast majority of the season we've one player who has any employment outside of football, and we train in the evening. But next year we're going to full morning training in DCU, and it's progression that's happened quite fast. And I think from, like I said, the off air, we're not going to train any more hours. So rather than train at 6 o'clock, we'll train at 10 o'clock or 11 a.m. So that'll be the shift. But I suppose, if I think about it, if I was a player, to get your work done in the morning and have the evenings off with family or girlfriends or, other things, I think it's probably a better maybe balance. And it's what I suppose, the likes of St. Pat's or Derry or Dundalk would be doing at present. So that'll be a shift. This is the first time. It's definitely, it's first time since Pat Fenlon that we'd have trained during the day. So it's a move for the club. And it's just we're able to do it sustainably now, and it'll be the next move in terms of the team.
And obviously, we were chatting off air, even like in terms of your own position previously as being kind of a big believer in part-time football or that kind of way. Like, so how has your own position shifted in terms of going towards a more full-time model in the morning?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the answer. Like I just think pre-Brexit, the reality was that the vast majority of footballers that you'd found in our league had not done their leaving certs. Most had gone to the UK, not all, but the majority of them. And you think of players, say like Carl Moore, James Talbot, loads of examples of players who just went to the UK, and it was a huge opportunity for them. You could see what it'd make the decision that they might drop out of education and go over there, and then they'll come back here, have a League of Ireland career where they could potentially earn what was a good salary. If you take, the majority of maybe a good League of Ireland player, maybe earning, €1,000 a week. So it's a good salary, but it's a short term 8-9 year window. And I felt that if a player didn't develop an education or, another qualification in that period, that at age 30, 32, they fall off a cliff. And when I say that, it's financially, but it's also from a mental health point of view and just your own sense, I suppose, of self-worth, and to go from a situation where you're maybe on TV and you got, fans and everything else, and then you don't have qualification. And there's lots of examples of players who end up in precarious employment afterwards. So I do think that it's still important, and Brexit has changed that, because unless you're moving to the continent at 16, you're not going until you're 18. I do think all players, regardless of potential ability at a young age, should get as good an education as they can, because in our league, even a top player, if you break that earnings over a 30-year window rather than an 8 or 9, you're going to need to transition into something. So I do think clubs have a big responsibility to ensure that they assist players in that transition. And the earlier you do it, the better. The 21-year-old doesn't want to hear about retirement, but it's a lot easier to get and to study and, put your mind on that type of stuff when you're that age, rather than when you're hitting 30 and maybe it's more pressing and you have other responsibilities. So I'm not sure our league, in the medium term, can provide a level of salary that would mean that a player, didn't need to have other employment when they finished.
In the great time so far, is one or two more quick questions. Firstly, in terms of a new manager and selection process, how's that going for the club, or could there be announcement the next week or two, or would it be more towards the end of the season where we'll see maybe a new manager appointed or head coach?
I'm not sure, to be honest. There's a committee from the board, so the board would have met and selected a committee. And I know a lot of applications have come in, good applications, and they're going to work through them. I don't think they're in a huge rush. I think they want to select the right person. I think the fact that we had 8 years with Keith, there's a lot of value in longevity. And obviously with Trevor, I think everyone would say Trevor's one of the best coaches in the country. So we're very lucky to have Trev there, and obviously Detzer with him. So I think there's good people there, and I think the board will take their time and make the right decision. And hopefully it's another appointment that is with the club for a long period of time.
And finally, then, I suppose the big game really for Bows left this season is the quarter final of the Cup. I imagine you're looking forward to North Dublin Derby.
Yeah, totally. You look at the draw, and I suppose the one you probably wanted to avoid was Derry away. That's a tricky draw for Rovers, and then I think Waterford away very tricky too for Dundalk. And then us and Chaz, we have a good record against Chaz, but I think you can see they've been improving a lot. I think Damien Duff's done a good job there. Hard working team. They're difficult to beat, and the last couple of games, in particular the last game, we came out with a draw. Against Temen, they worked really hard against it. So I think it'd be a brilliant occasion. And look, it's funny, you see the UCD and Treaty game, and you kind of think, geez, somebody might have, what should be a relatively easy fixture held out there. Not certain, but if you were to draw one of those clubs in the semi-final, there is a route that somebody will see there as possibly an easier route to a final. So huge game. It would look difficult for either club to achieve Europe in the league at this stage, to be fair. I think that'll be challenging. So this just to give us a route to Europe where we want to be. So it's definitely the huge game and an unusual Sunday daytime kickoff. So fingers crossed.
Dave, a great time. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, and we'll chat soon.
Great. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Get in touch. You can email us at extratimelive@gmail.com or tag us on Instagram using the hashtag League of Ireland or tweet us at extratimenews.
Let's do it.
And that was Daniel Lambert there of Bowes. Thanks so much, Dan, for coming on the podcast. Guys, Macdara and Dave are still alongside me. I'm going to chat brief about the big game come this Thursday. Macdara, Shamrock Rovers obviously start their European adventure. First Irish club playing the Irish Conference League.
In the Europa Conference League, no, it's competition that's only been in existence 2 years. But it's the fourth time a League of Ireland side has played in the group stages of European competition. The first 3 times were Europa League, Shamrock Rovers in 2011 and Dundalk in 2016 and 2020. Although they played all the games behind closed doors because of COVID in 2020. So we've Irish teams have played 18 games, have won 1, drawn 1. Lost 16, and the win and the draw were both for Dundalk in 2016. So the Europa Conference League the opposition should be maybe a little bit easier than the Europa League, because basically they took half of the Europa League teams and put them into the Conference League and added in another 16. So that's to the group. So Rovers start off with Djurgårdens, who are the lowest ranked team in the group. They don't have any. The European experience, none is in the group stages, only the Intertoto Cup way back. But they're going along nicely in the Swedish league. They did win at the win of the weekend. I'm told I think they got 750 tickets, but I think there's a couple of thousand Djurgårdens fans that are travelling over. I remember seeing them. They played Rovers 20 years ago in Talca Park, and it really stands out in the memory for me. They brought like 3,000 or 4,000. Probably 3,000 fans in the Riverside stand in Talca, and I was in what was the new stand. Well, it was the new stand at that stage behind the goal in Talca, and the atmosphere was just amazing. They won, I think it was 3-1 that night. Steve McGuinness was playing for Rovers. He scored the goal.
3-1, yeah, 2-0 in the away leg.
2-0 in the away leg, but the atmosphere was really stands to my memory. So it'll be. Yeah, should be a really good atmosphere in Tallaght Stadium. So they've been selling tickets, kind of part of a 3-match package. I think it was €75, but there are individual tickets now that Rovers are selling from today, Tuesday evening. We're recording, so if people are interested in going to the game, if you're listening to this before Thursday, you should be able to pick up a ticket. And the game is live on Virgin 7 or something. I think it should be available. Yeah, I don't know if I even have it, but I'm not bothered. I'm going to the game, so I'm not going to be watching on the television. But it should be available free to air for people to watch.
Okay, just on that, I actually completely forgot about that. What's our take on Manchester United being shown ahead of Shamrock Rovers? I think it's poor play, personally.
So United are on one of the other channels higher up. Is it? Virgin
I think,
1?
As far as I'm aware, I think Virgin Media 1 has Shamrock Rovers.
Virgin 2, I think. Virgin 1, I think, is showing Emmerdale or something.
Well, but I've no issue once it's free to view. I can't remember what TV package I have. I've like Vodafone, so I don't even know if I have. I don't even know if I have Virgin. But would they get more people watching Man United than Shamrock Rovers? It probably would, and it's a commercial decision. Like they're not the broadcaster.
I think what's happening is that because this is my pure guess. If they're showing Manchester United in HD. And then they're going to show Shamrock Rovers in standard definition, they're probably afraid to lose viewership to BT or some other station because it's not shown in higher definition. That's my guess to why they put Shamrock Rovers. They're probably thinking, oh, well, the Rovers fans will watch it anyway, regardless in standard def or high def. That's my own personal opinion.
BT are also showing the game in HD, as far as I know, on BT4, I want to say.
Yeah, I don't have that. I have only BT3. But as I say, I will be in Tallaght Stadium for the game.
Yeah, likewise. I'm going to have my baseball cap on now and just a jacket over me, so no one's supposed to be in the home end.
And I'm going to be sitting in front of my laptop working. Yay!
Des, I'm going to say to you, because obviously Macdara asked the same question. What's the good European campaign for Shamrock Rovers in this group?
Qualifying.
Okay. Do you think that's realistic, Dave?
I think it's not it's not likely, but it's possible. Yeah. I think
I think it's attainable, but I think it's unlikely as well. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I think if they start well, particularly with their home record, they've won 6 of the last 7 games in Europe. The only one they didn't win was Flower Talon. So, like they have a formidable home record, and I'm sure Juro Gardens will be very aware of that. And the fact that Juro Gardens and Molde are both in the middle of title races, whereas Rovers, even though they lost at the weekend, they more or less, I think, have it wrapped up. I don't think it's going to be a challenge from Derry or Dundalk. So it might just give them a bit of an extra focus on it, whereas Molde and Juro Gardens might just be juggling their resources a little bit and maybe needing to play players, for 3 games in 7 days, three games in 8 days, or whatever it is. So I think there is a bit of a chance there. I think probably Juro Gardens, Molde, and whoever the other team are, I can't remember.
Kent.
I think they're all. Yeah, they're all a higher standard than Rovers are. They all play in a higher standard league, but none of them are unbeatable. And I think Rovers have shown that they can beat teams from better resourced, higher ranked leagues over the past couple of years. So yeah, I think there is a chance there.
I was saying Rovers were pretty poor against Bows on Friday. I think Stephen Bradley said it was by far their worst performance of the season, but I was saying that they went so direct and kind of finished with 10 men. They were maybe trying to lull Juro Gardens into a false sense of security, or that Rovers actually play unpleasant British-style physical football, like I think Ludo Gretz, or was it Scoopy, said Rovers played. But if Juro Gardens were watching...
Ferris, wasn't it?
Oh, was it Ferris Ferris? But anyway, Juro Gardens, if they were watching, I'm sure they were watching that game on Friday night, were probably thinking, oh, this might be a bit easier. But I think, as you say, Dave...
Bradley playing 40 chess again.
Yeah, the home record is really good. Played 4 games at home this season and have won all 4, and got wins against teams that were definitely of high caliber leagues and opposition, even though the ties against Ludo Gretz and Ferris Ferris were essentially over after the first leg. But yeah, I think trying to pick up a couple of points is definitely the target. That they're just not going just to, we got to the group stage and that's it. They definitely want to pick up some wins and some points along the way.
Me and Macdara have both known Bradley for years and interviewed him hundreds of times, and I have absolutely no doubt that he's going in there to top the group. It's probably very, very unlikely to happen, but that's going to be his aim.
I suppose that has to be the ambition, though, doesn't it? You can't go into the group stage defeated. I mean, like, I'm not saying it's a complete free shot, but at the end of the day, they've done the hard work and the hard spade work to get into the tournament. You may as well have a bash. And like as we said, like Dundalk did in 2016, and go toe-to-toe with the likes of Zenit, and go toe-to-toe with the likes of AZ Alkmaar and the Israeli team. What was it? What's the Israeli team? Maccabi Tel Aviv. Yeah. So like, you may as well go head-to-head with them and just see how we get on. Like, I think personally, if they have any aspirations to get through the group, they have to win Thursday night. I just don't see how if they don't win, they don't go through. Like, you know what I mean? That there's no way. I don't think you can pick up points.
Well, I think they think they can. They think they can beat anybody. And you mentioned that AZ, they're coincidentally Rovers 19s are playing AZ in the youth league.
Yeah, the night before. It's next week. Actually, there'll be a piece going up on Extra Time in the next week or that. Yeah, it's the night before the Ghent game next week, so it'll be Wednesday of next week.
Yeah. What we'll do is, lads, we'll finish up there. Score predictions. Finally, what are we thinking? Dara, go to you first.
For Thursday night?
Yes.
A 1-0 win. I'm trying to get Alan Manis to get a couple more clean sheets so he can break. He's arrowing in on a couple of club records for clean sheets, so I'm going to go for a 1-0 win.
Dave?
I think there's going to be more goals than that. I don't. I can't promise Alan Manis anything. I think it might be more of a 2-1 or something.
I'm going to be confident. I'll go 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1 win. Confident. Their form in Europe is very good at home. So I'm going to go with a 3-0 win. Anyway, I think we'll park that there. A quick run through the fixtures this weekend. Derry City versus Bows, Charlie Knight versus Pats, UCD Dundalk, Shell Sligo, and then that Sunday night game obviously been refixed. Shamrock Rovers at home to Finn Harps. In the first division, Waterford Cork City, Cove Ramblers Galway, Treat United Bray, Athlone Town Wexford. And in the Women's National League, we have Sligo Rovers Galway, DLR Waves Athlone, Treat United Bows, Wexford Youths Cork, and Shelburne Pima, which is live on TG Catter at 7:15, I think, at kickoff. Lads, thanks as always.
Enjoyed the chat. Thanks, Luke.
Welcome. And we'll chat to you all next week.